Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to be talking about Bora Bora. Don't forget to stay tuned to the very end for our pounds and inches update.
Alright, so Bora Bora is set in the kind of the South Pacific Islands. Basically, it's a dice placement game. So you've got 3 dice that you're going to use every turn to complete your actions. It's very tense, not a lot of actions to work with. So let me show you what that looks like. So here is the setup for Bora Bora. We've got our main action board here. We have our own personal player boards. This is going to be where we're going to place our dice to take our actions. We'll have some extra tiles that we're going to place out in later rounds. And here's all the God cards up here. These are special cards that you're going to use in order to kind of break some rules and actually gain some victory points as well. So in this game, your dice kind of act as workers, and everyone is going to have 3 dice. So we're going to roll them. There's going to be high values and low values and everything in between, obviously. There's benefits to both. For instance, a high value is usually going to give you more of a benefit, but a low value is going to give you a little bit more flexibility as far as where you can place it. Now, we all start off with one of these little huts on one of these places where there's a 1 value of fish. But we can use this action over here to travel across the water or the earth to get to other places. So, for instance, we could use this 1 value to go across that 1 value and place a hut over there and get that corresponding resource. That resource would then be placed on our player board, and we could build stuff with it later on. I do want to point out that I set up for a 2-player game. This particular action tile and this one as well are broken out into separate male and females, or separate land and earth, or land and water action movements. In a 4-player game, they're broken out. In a 2-player game, they're all kind of condensed, so that way it still is kind of tight, and there's a lot of competition for those actions. Once we've gathered some resources, and we've placed them on our player board here, we can use this action to cover up, or to remove 2 of those resources, and cover them up with these tiles here. That's going to get us some points based off what round we do it in, as well as a fire action, which is going to give us maybe a card or some resources. I'm going to come back to this action here, and we're going to move on to the next one. This action right here is what allows us to get our kind of men and women tiles down here at the bottom part of the board. What dice value you use kind of lets you know what person you can choose. So if you use a 5, for instance, you could use anyone with a 5 on down, but you could not get the 6. This spot over here is for the temple. There's this kind of temple track going on right there. Now if I were to place, let's say, a 2 value there, I'd take one of my little priests, and I would put that on the 2 spot of the board. That'll give me some points at the end of each round, for as long as that guy is still on the board, as well as going to give me what's called a fire action, which might give me some extra cards or resources. Now this action right here, this is called the helper action. You can use, the more pips you have on that dice, let's say you had 5 pips that you put, a dice value of 5. That means we can use it 5 different times or in 5 different ways. That can include getting more resources. You can buy cards, or you can also slide down your men and women tile on your personal board, which we'll get to that later. That's going to give you either tattoos or shells, or you can just use it for points. So the higher the number value is, the better it is. Now I said there was advantages to having low dice values, but so far it's always been positive to have bigger numbers. The reason it's better to have lower numbers is, basically, throughout the course of the round, when you place more dice down there, basically they have to be lower than what the dice are currently. So for instance, I could not place a 6 value there underneath that 5. And furthermore, where this 1 is, nothing can go underneath that. So that action is effectively blocked off for the rest of the round. Now these God cards over here will allow us to break some of those rules and help us to place some dice anyways. But if still there's nothing else you can do with the dice, you can always put it here for 2 points, just as a way of not completely wasting that dice in that action. So then after we've used all of our dice, if we've collected any of the men and women tiles over the course of the round, they're going to go over this part of the board on any open spot where there is no hut. You're going to get a chance to use 1 guy and 1 girl for its value. And it could say something like grab a resource or grab a shell, or it could be even use a die value of a certain amount to get more people or to move across the islands there as well. So lots of different variety of what those men and women tiles can do. After that, you go through this track right here. Whoever has the most tattoos is going to get points based off of that track above it, as well as that's going to go first in the next round. Then we're going to go down to our priest track there, our temple track, and whoever has the most people in it is going to get one of those God cards or those God tiles, which acts as a free version of those cards. We're going to get a chance to buy jewelry using the shells in whatever the current round is. So, there's obviously 6 columns of jewelry, and that represents the 6 different rounds that we're in. And then, like a lot of Stefan Feld games, there are just objectives you have to hit. We all start with 3, but then there's more you're going to get each round as well. Like the ones over here that we started with. This one says I have to have both a jewelry and a woman tile to cash that in. This one says I have to have 3 women that are of non-equal pictures. And so all different, different objectives. If you're able to complete one of those objectives, you're going to get 6 points. If you can't for some reason, you can spend one of these yellow god cards over here for 2 less points. That's kind of that 4 point there. And if you still can't complete anything, then you get no points for that part of the round. Then you draft a new one of these tiles, and you start the round over again. You do that a total of 6 times. Even at the end of the game, you're still going to be able to draft a new one, and then you have a chance to, finish all 3 of your tiles that you still have on your board. So you might have a total of 9 objectives that you complete. On your personal player board, there's additional end-of-game scoring that you go through, but basically, if you manage to complete all of something, you're going to get an extra 6 points. Let's say you completed all 9 of your objectives, 6 points. If you fill in this whole area right here, 6 points. If you can get a jewelry, for all your jewelry points, you're going to get those points that are printed on the jewelry tiles themselves. So there are a lot of different ways to score points in this game, especially at the end. So whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. I did not talk about it a whole lot, but again, these god cards over here are very, very strong. You have to use them in conjunction with one of these offering tiles there. But when you do those, it's either going to be a very strong scoring opportunity or a way to break some rules, be able to play some dice that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. So keep that in mind. God cards and offerings are always really strong.
I really like dice games, and I like the dice manipulations this game has. There's not a lot of option. You only get those 3 dice, but you can place them with other people depending on where the pip is. There's these god tiles that allow you to manipulate your dice, and so I like the dice games that allow you enough opportunities to manipulate it so you don't feel like you're stuck doing something, and this game did that.
Yeah, I really like how tense it is. I mean, you're only guaranteed 3 actions every turn, and there's 6 rounds. 18 actions the entire game, and you've really got to maximize that by getting those men and women tiles to kind of help you out, get you additional resources and movement. So I just love how tight that is, and that you have to really kind of control your board in order to succeed.
This game is immersive in the fact that you can't focus on just you. You have to focus on all the other players too, because they could run away with something like getting every single god tile in a game. Not saying that happened. Not saying I got like 12 points off of that or anything. But anyway, you have to pay attention to what other people are doing or you will lose. So I like that you got to focus on building up what you're trying to do. Get your goals, but you can't just ignore all the other players. And I liked that. I liked it was fun that you had to keep on bouncing back and forth from what you wanted to do and blocking what somebody else was trying to do.
All right, it might sound a little weird to talk about colors in a game, but in general, a lot of Euro games, and specifically Stefan Feld games, have not been talked about for their bright colors and vivid imagery. Castles of Burgundy. Bora Bora was really eye-catching. It was a lot of fun to look at the table and just see all the different water and fish and the different colors of the huts and everything. So that was a really neat part of this game.
This game plays very fast, and I think that's a positive of the game, of the fact that you'll be playing for an hour and a half and it only feels like 20 minutes. You have no idea where all that time went because you were so engaged in this game. It just, you play it and then it's over and you're like, what happened? Except for me when I'm like, how did I lose again?
That being said, I would say that this game probably does favor the experience. I've had a lot of opportunities to play this game, and I've loved each and every time we've played it. But that being said, even if I'm the best teacher in the world and I teach someone really, really well, the first, second, third time they play it, they're not going to beat me. They're not even going to come close. Not because I'm good, but because of the experience level.
Yeah,
you really want to play with people of similar experience levels to get your kind of scores to be paired off.
Yeah, it definitely favors Ryan. I mean, the experienced player. This game, I like it, and it was fun. I think it might be at the end of what I'm able to handle competitively. I could play a more, crunchier game. I just wouldn't be able to play it competitively. But I think because Ryan has had so many more plays of this game than me, then we're just not able to play competitively. But I could fail to teach it to somebody, and then we could play it competitively.
Well, there you go. All right, so my overall thoughts on this game: it is a lot of fun. It is on the heavier end, in contrast to, for Stefan Feld, in the Year of the Dragon we talked about a couple episodes ago. That's on the lighter end of his games, in our opinion. But both offer completely different experiences, different worlds, different themes. Super creative, a lot of fun, really tight.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. You can't wing it, but it's fun to try and plan out and, fail out blocking other people and then realize, how did you lose again by 50 points? I'm not talking from personal experience.
All right, so that is our thoughts on Bora Bora. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews, so you don't miss out on any of our videos that we have coming out soon. We're also on Facebook, Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. We are on Twitter, at Ryan and Bethany1. We're on Instagram, at Ryan and Bethany. And stay tuned for our Pounds and Inches segment at the end of the episode.
All right.
Bye everybody.
Guys. All right, so one of the things that we have been trying to do the past couple of weeks is just to make sure to buy from local businesses. We really want to push into our local economy, especially as a lot of people have had to lay people off. We just want to be very conscientious about that. However, we've been eating very poorly because if we're going to get takeout somewhere, it's not like we're going to get the most healthy option. So I'm having a really hard time right now of balancing that, of wanting to push into our local economy, but also just wanting to eat healthy. So I'm really looking forward to late spring and early summer for the farmers market, where I can do both. I can push into, our local farms while also eating healthy. So I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, well, guys, be safe out there. Have fun. Be sure to talk to us on our comments and in Twitter. We'd love to play some games with you guys, have some fun, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.